that's number one, is just finding out, what lie the kid is in. But then what I do now is I sell, make sure that when the kids get into a junior stick, they also get into a junior extension that comes with the stick. So I make sure they grow with the stick. Now, at the younger levels, the flex doesn't really matter so much. It's actually the flex goes actually down, obviously as the stick, when you put the extension in. But for a $6 extension, you can make a stick last another, for a little kid that's not breaking a stick, you can have that stick kind of grow with the player, so that they can learn that I can at any time, just like to this scenario with the Calgary Flames, Uyghur, is that now kids are more apt to experiment, just like a player, right? Experimenting with half inch or 5/8 or 3/4. If you don't have the ability to do that on the fly, like now with the quick change blades, it's so much easier to give a kid an opportunity to sample a different edge. That we do that with sticks now too. I do that with all my younger kids. It's like, give them an opportunity to say, sample this. I have my whole, I don't have them in front of me here, but I have my whole series of junior, extensions. I say, hey, sample your stick with this extension, and then find what fits you. And then you go from there. But I think that, it certainly takes a lot of work. It's a lot easier just to say, hey, kid, cut your stick down. I get that. It's a lot. There's a lot of kids, but I think if you can pinpoint and give people the ability to sample different size sticks within their stick based off the technology we have today, you can really fine tune where that player is in the length of the stick. And Wally, to answer your question earlier, I'm finding, we went through a phase down here in our area with the Zuccarello effect, where every kid wanted a stick that was above their forehead playing. Without even knowing how to use it properly, right? So I think that's a phase that's kind of come in and out a little bit. But certainly the longer stick is more prevalent than a stick that's too short. With the kids that I see down here. Oh, you're on mute, Wally.
How do you address it? And I think it's starting young and not us one at a time. It starts with governing bodies and the U6 level of learn to skate, learn to play, and the U8 level, half ice hockey. You start young when they're just starting to play and educate the coaches who listen and appreciate the science of biomechanics affecting them as they grow up. To me, it's a shame that it's come that far in our sport. Go ahead, Mike.
No, I was going to say, to your point, that's exactly what I talk about, in the coaching education program, right? If you're dealing with an 8U coach, a new coach to hockey, it's almost more important to teach them about those type of things, about the mechanics of shooting and how a player stands and how a player holds a stick, more so than whether they understand how to, catch a puck off the boards or pivot the right way at this point. It's more like give them the ability to educate the player on a massive scale, and then let the player educate themselves, finding the right fit. I go through the same thing with like youth lacrosse. You see youth lacrosse players, they get a stick off the shelf and they go and play. They don't know shooting strings, they don't know shooting heads, they don't know different, depth of pocket, how that affects the player. Like if a player has a deeper pocket or a shallower pocket, like all those kind of things come into effect and can drastically change the length of the shaft of the stick. All that stuff takes a drastic effect on how the player reacts to their mechanics, and not enough coaches are educated to see that and then respond to it and fix it and then grow with the player. And I think there needs to be much more emphasis on that piece, than some of these other things we worry about sometimes.
We used to have in our programs, Mike, it would have been 30 years ago, the biomechanical principles were part of teaching coaches. And I do it in 15 minutes. and I do it in 5-minute segments throughout the clinic. The stable balance principle is taught by getting up from your chair without moving your feet and shoulders, sitting tall. You have to get it over the center of gravity. And then I do use all the joints. Principle 2, which relates to stick length, which causes you to have your knee bend. And it's jump up against the wall as high as you can with your ankles only. Then your knees a little bent, not your waist yet. And they jump much higher, so it's use the joints. And the last one is use the joints in order. It's playing catch with a crumpled piece of paper with a teammate, and then switch hands and try to go through the biomechanics of using the joints in order. End of story. You might sell the stick length, but the appreciation of the science in 15 minutes, that's the minimal that could be done right now. So, but listen, Craig Revak's on. I'm going to see if I can bring up and get him to talk about some things, because
shoot away.
Craig, are you available?
Yeah, you got me for about the next 15, and then I got to run.
Okay, I'm just going to let you know, your very last share, I'm really going to push it because can you describe what it was you shared to the group? The maneuvers in the low zone in terms of the position of the body and gaining position to be available. Like, to me, this is thing I'm going to pass on to CIS coaches one at a time with 2 that I know, and then to the global population. So it's going to be about 120 CIS coaches, because it's stuff at that highest level that the NHL is doing that you talked about. Can you just elaborate on that? Because I don't know if any of the guys here have seen it, but I'm certainly going to forward your email.
So Wally, is this the one about finding space, working off the net?
Yes.
Gotcha. So I'll put a link into the chat real quick for everyone if you haven't seen it. Literally named Finding Space, Working Off the Net. General concept here is space is hard to come by. How do we find it? How do we create it? And this is stuff that higher level rings a lot truer than maybe the lower level, where you're going to be able to just have people switch off their focus mentally and find space and not really have to work for it. But obviously at the higher levels, it becomes a lot tougher. Checks are a lot more aware. They're much more engaged all the time. You're playing hockey 24/7 rather than whenever your team gets the puck. So it's how do we create and find and get the space? Really, it's difficult unless you're finding ways to utilize your teammates and bring them in, or utilize the only static structure on the rink, which is the net. So how do we run our checks, our opponents into traffic? How do we run them into the net? How do we find the space between coverages, which is the real concept here, is how do we find space? And it really comes down to, if you got a man on man, we got to run them into traffic or off the net. If we've got more zone, we get a lot. We can find space by going between coverages, whether that is that awkward space behind the net or some spaces that you can find between the defensive structure that gets put in place by coaches.
Craig, I really love your video highlights, the demonstration of them by those players with your voiceover. And I find reading your written description and then repeatedly looking at the video clip, like it reruns, so I can read, go back and look at it. And I really believe any player that looks at that, listens to it, sees it, and reads it, they're going to do it. They're going to experiment with it. To me, it's just like YouTube. These kids are practicing skills on YouTube that they see that they're starting to do on the ice. So the Michigan, that's what happened because somebody did it and everybody sees it now. So everybody's trying it now. And I really think that offensive tactical stuff you're putting on to create time and space and use those areas of the ice, it's brilliant. So I want to compliment you for that. I'm doing everything in my power to circulate and make them aware of it. But those video links are priceless. If players look at them and coaches look at them, I don't think I would deliberately practice them. I think your elite players at the college level, they would just do that stuff on the ice. And
Agreed, and I feel like that's one of the problems I run into with a lot of young coaches is like they want to teach every little detail of the game, and it's like you don't have time or the ability, and you're taking away from areas that should be prioritized. So that's good to hear that you believe that it can be just taken kind of from video and from concept, and players can try it in their games within their team practices where they don't have to specifically go into this or design an activity or drill. So that's wonderful, and I like how you enjoy actually having to rewatch the video over and over again, because I think particularly for players who may not have watched as much film as us coaches have or want to watch, they're able to actually start picking up an eye for the game, an eye for the details, rather than some of these videos where I see a ton on the screen where you're pointing out this and you're look here, look there, but they've got to develop their own eye for it. So it's a big thing that I do is I try to almost do nothing, allow here's what I'm seeing, and then allowing people to find their own eye for the game and own eye for the detail within it. So I'm glad that that's going well, and thanks Wally for pushing that out and getting it beyond just my few little people that follow me, and it's great to hear that's connecting well with you and others.
I just want to share with you at the level, our level, and I'll mention Tom's team specifically, he dealt with U13 girls. So Craig, we aren't worried about creating offensive low zone space, but what Tom did, he worked on forward to forward offensive puck movement behind the net, finding the open player in the slot. And they did that. U13 girls. It was phenomenal. He also worked on evasive tight turns in a deliberate way. So I'm more concerned of getting coaches to teach those fundamental skills a little better, and then that ability to go into hockey sense and hockey IQ and thinking and applying those skills. With Tom's team, his games concept, his special rules in scrimmaging, they picked it up. And I think that I've been off this call a little bit talking to Samantha Holmes, who's on the executive in Girls Hockey Calgary, and Samantha's a former national team player candidate, and they get it. Anybody who's played with the national team gets it. And Greg, we were talking about stick length, I think, before you joined. Sam Holmes emailed me last night, texted me during the Canadian game against Switzerland. Sarah Nurse's stick is too long. She spotted it. And that's where I'm at, Craig. But I'm also at the other end of the spectrum. And it's the first time I connected the dots with the CIS is the level that they can look at it. I don't even know if the Western League coaches or players would appreciate it and apply it as much as the CIS player where they're student athletes and maybe they look at video more. But video learning to me, the experiment that Darryl Belfry did with his superstars out in Florida, where they looked at Patrick Kane talk through his shift, it led to conversations and questions, and it engaged them in viewing the game and seeing the game, not through the coach's eye, but through their eyes. And they see so much more than we do. And I think that's where we are going to be students of the players now.
there's a big difference between knowledge of the game and knowledge in the game, and bridging that gap, I think, is where you're seeing some of the top end coaches and facilitators really driving a lot of value for their players. It's great to see it from video and 1,000-foot view, but how can you in real time think through a shift, build a mental map, so when you're actually playing, you're able to make these reads in real time when the game is so fast and requires a lot of read and react rather than being able to think through exactly, oh, I'm going to do this because of that, that, and that. It's just too fast. So how do we create knowledge in the game rather than just knowledge of the game? Obviously, knowledge of the game helps, but we need to translate that to knowledge in the game itself. And when it comes to equipment, I'd also love to throw out there, shorter sticks are great, but we should also maybe go down an eyelet or two when we're tying up our skates, so we have a little more ankle bend, because I find improper or poor knee bend is usually actually all about inability to really move the ankle and get ankle bend.
Yeah, we've talked about that a while ago. The top 3 eyelets being looser, or maybe even not even doing them up. And I'll share this story, Greg. I don't think you've heard of it, but Thomas Pacino's coach, Thomas is coach in the Czech Republic.
Yep.
Jungle Jim Hunter is a skier from Canada who grew up in Saskatchewan where there weren't any hills, and he became a world-class skier, but he brought up the concept of skiing without your ski boots tightened on, so you could feel your edges. So Thomas, and I have a video of this edited of a player doing really difficult pivoting movements with loose skates. And Jerome McGinley worked with Thomas, and Thomas did the loose skates concept with him. And after that, Jerome did all his warm-ups before the game. He did the warm-up with loose skates, because you get to feel your edges, the tactile nature of going up your body through your feet and the edges of your skates. So thanks for bringing that up, because we can talk about it you might need them really tight to be able to just stand up and learn to skate. But once you learn and achieve a level of competence, we're talking about just making them that much better with that much mastery of their edges. So good point.
Yeah, another piece
Wally,
with
it's
that,
good.
and I got to run after this, would just be even like being able to slow down and do things slow before you speed it up and do it fast. 'Cause a lot of people can take their momentum and do things, but as soon as you slow it down, their technique and form and ability really falls off. Sorry, Jordan, got to run. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
Okay, take care, Greg. Thanks for getting on.
Thanks, Greg.
I was just going to add that it was a good comparison that you talked about putting the skiing and hockey together, because these newest skates I find are like ski boots. I got a new pair of skates this year because I got a promotion, and so I tried a brand new pair of ski boots is what they felt like to me.
You froze
I'm
up.
not hearing anybody here.
Yeah, Jordan froze up.
Jordan, you froze up, so you'll try again getting back on. But anybody experimented with skate laces, not doing eyelets over the years, and any other things like that? Mike? Turn your speaker on, Mike.
I must have been unmuted the whole time. Yeah, I used to run a lot of skating classes back in the, a long time ago, where we'd have this kids skate with their skates basically just tied enough so they'd stay on their feet. And that was an old figure skating trick. Just, it was all about, feeling your edges and being able to pivot and not allowing your ankles to, you have to control your ankle flexion and your knee flexion and your own it's almost like it's hard enough to balance on skates as it is for an individual. Now try to balance on skates that aren't that your foot has to adjust to, and your weight transfer has to accommodate for. So it's a it's not for everyone, but I always thought it was a good challenge for the kids for sure that I worked with, especially the really good skaters, like the ones that knew their edges were really the people I love watching the most do that. But if Jordan gets back on, I think we dropped him, huh? Because he bought CCMs, that's why.
Hmm.
I think the loose eyelets and or top couple of eyelets or whatever, definitely a skill acquisition required. I know that I never would have been able to, I don't think I'd been able to adapt to that. So the sort of the earlier, it's same as we're talking about the other stuff, the earlier you sort of introduce that idea to young kids, probably the better, because it'd be a hard thing to change on the fly once you're older, I think. Perhaps doable, but
Well, I think it's one of those things where if you incorporate it into an older player, it's more of a challenge of like me, like I've always, like I never used to wear socks skating. Like it was always a big, I liked my foot. Like I didn't like tube socks. I'm not a tube sock guy. So now that they have such thin socks, I mean, it's great now with the skate socks are so thin, they feel like you're not really wearing much either. But that's just that feeling that you're controlling the blade and you feel it. The control is, I think, what makes, the great skaters greater, right? They have the ability to feel where their edge actually is on the ice. And I think when you take the ability to extract, like if you can make the tuck of the blade and the blade feel like it's being controlled directly by your foot and not by the boot, it really does, give a whole different level of control for the player. That's why I was saying the higher level kid, I like watching because they're not frustrated by it. They actually adjust so fast to be able to control their skate without it even being tied. They're literally riding on their blade with their own foot, which is impressive.
mm-hmm.
They don't want them to trip, obviously, and break their ankle because those boots are so stiff now. There's no play in there. Like it's like you hit it. It's a stiff boot.
On the call right now. Hey, that worked. Everybody goes out there different. I'm kind of in a hurry. That's good enough. So just take a
Tom, are you there, Tom?
hopefully you can get 3-6 months of it right there. Yeah. Juice. Now I'll take you to the second door.
Tom?
So you're driving grandkids everywhere, are you? Yeah.
I just let my dog out.
Hey, Tom,
Yeah,
There you are.
Garshner's,
I was letting my dog out.
Garshner is available. Here's Garth. He plays old timers with, before Tom. He's with the younger guys. I coach him with the World Police Fire games. Back in the day, we won the World Police Fire Championship. So he's here to fix my doors. So I'm slipping in and out, guys. I'm sorry that I missed Mike's conversation, but I will listen to this. I am recording it, so I'm sure going to have to listen to a lot, but I'm going to be leaving you for a minute just to walk Garth through what my doors need. Okay?
I taught him in junior high, grade 7, 8, and 9. We had school hockey at that time. Plus, we
Okay,
had the hockey option
yeah,
3 times a week on the ice.
okay.
Yeah, he was in those.
Well, look, Tom, how can the Flames be so bad against Chicago and then so good against Winnipeg? I'll leave you guys talking about that. Talk to you later.
Well, they just went brain dead for a little moment. The first 5 minutes of the third, guys are reaching in, playing at the end of their stick, and guys walking right down the middle all by themselves, just firing the puck. It was just like Kadri was he looks exhausted right now. To me, I don't know. I don't know. What do you guys think? Or you see him? I don't know. Did my screen go dead?
No. For me, I'm seeing a lot of really don't care, don't give a shit.
Well, yeah, behind the net,
Casual play.
one handed the puck right to their guy.
Yeah. Richie makes a play last night, just high in the offensive zone, just pushes the puck casually ahead, and it basically goes right by him going the other way. Like, if you're not going to do something with it, leave it alone.
No, I don't walk that long. I only walk this.
Yeah. Everybody else is frozen on my screen.
Are you hearing me, Tom?
Yeah, I hear you, but Tim and Mike are frozen on my screen.
Yeah. Doesn't appear that Wally's given his. While I got your attention, though, you commented earlier about something at Seven Chiefs you were doing, I'm presuming over the summer. Is that right?
Yeah, well, we did this camp in Jasper for 12, 15 years.
Oh, yeah.
Like Don kind of did it. He's the skating coach, and I got a hold of him. I needed a skating coach for the Koreans, and he was a skating coach in Davos for my Finnish friend Johanni. And he said, I think Gaston lives in Alberta now. And he was up in Fairview. But anyway, he was Swiss champion and coached for national teams. He skated holiday on ice and ice capades 4 years traveling the world. He's got a doctorate in body mechanics, and he's the best skating coach I've ever seen. So what we did is in Jasper, we do 2 skating, 1 hockey, 1 day, and then alternate, then 2 hockey, 1 skating. But he can only be in late in the afternoon. So we're going to do, we've got the place booked there, Seven Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
3 75-minute ice times. And 1, they have that outdoor covered rink. It's all for girls, eh? So we're going to work on shooting the outdoor rink. And then the idea from Alan Anders about, the kids thinking and doing their own stuff. So we're going to have classroom session, but they make their own playbook. And Wally will be involved in that too. And maybe get Greg's video there, and have them make their own playbook. So they'll start off with, I think hockey, and then shooting, then hockey, and then lunch, classroom, and then skating. And it's for under 13s the first week, the 3rd to 7th. That's during Stampede Week.
Okay.
And then next week, the 10th to the 14th, I think it is, 10, 11, 12, 13, yeah, is for under 15s. And that's what I'm supposed to be coaching next year. We just thought we'd try it, with those age-specific things. It's a beautiful facility, incredible facility.
Oh, no question. I've been in there.
Yeah, and I
might become a casual observer, that's all.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll get you in the classroom thing. One of my players from a couple of years ago in the midget girls will help. And then I'm trying to get this Callie Big Crow. She's the daughter of the guy that runs the place. And she played for me for 3 years at SAIT. So trying to see if she'll help too. She's really good kid. So be Jim and I, Wally wants to be involved, and Cassie said she can come sometime. She'll just be around for the second week, I think.
That's the first 2 weeks in July then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I really like the format in Jasper. Like a lot of guys went pretty far in hockey out of that Jasper. A couple of them even got drafted. So,
1962. Here as well.
Okay.
and you got time to work on the technique stuff, when you're.
That's where I'm at. Sitting here thinking, all these-
So,
Pretty hard, I haven't cut out because you-
we put our deposit down yesterday.
They have the covered rink functional during the summer as well?
Yeah.
Well, they don't have ice there, but we want to do shooting, right?
All right, okay.
But at least it's covered. If it's really hot, it's covered.
Yeah.
If it's raining, it's covered, so
Yeah.
you don't get camped.
Oh,
Oh,
You don't
really?
get if it's bad weather.
He made a painting of this painting.
And
I wonder if I've seen the one that your wife did. Yeah, you probably have, like, because I've seen that
but remember you there? Mike, are you there?
picture when I was in.
I'm here, yeah.
This one is the bench.
I just wonder if you guys in the call with Wally in the background talking.
Mike still shows on, Tim still shows on.
Yeah. Yeah, just
Yeah, sorry, guys, I had to just scoot outside for a minute, but excuse me.
yeah, I won't have the benefit of being able to go for bike rides in the mountains like in Jasper, which I loved a lot. But the format of the camp, I think, is really, really good.
Sorry, what we talked about, Tom?
Well, at the camp, Jim and I and Wally's going to be involved, and be Cassie a bit. And it's a camp at that Seven Chiefs, and the first 2 weeks of July, first one for under 13 girls,
Mm-hmm.
and we have 3 75-minute ice times, and then they have an outdoor pad that's covered. We'll do shooting out there, and then we're going to have a classroom, kind of like the Allen Andrews, where they'll make their own playbook. And those things all together, and then they'll you get lunch there too if they want to eat there. So basically 2 hockeys and 1 skating every day.
Yeah, nice.
We did this in Jasper for 12-15 years, and it was really successful.
And how many kids kind of to fill it up?
Well, the most I want on the ice is 24 kids. I don't want a regular hockey school of 35 kids or whatever. There's 24 kids. This is the goal, with goalies. And I found 24, even teaching phys ed, to be the perfect amount as far as organized little games, because I use games all the time. My basic format is focus on a skill, teach, do the technique, and then play a game where you have to use it, or vice versa, make a rule, you have to use it, and then do corrective exercises to say, okay, this is how you do it, and then go back to it again.
Mm-hmm.
And move through the skills that way. And Gaston he was skating coach in Davos. Like Levy knows him. He played there when Gaston was there. But he moved here, and Yuso got me hooked up with him, and he's got a doctorate in body mechanics, and he traveled the world for 4 years, feature skater for Ice Capades, Holiday on Ice. He was the national skating coach in Switzerland too, so he knows he's really good. So have him once a day. Wally will be there for the classroom sessions. Do a little mentoring on the ice stuff. Wally, I was just talking about that hockey camp we're going to have. The second week would be U15 girls.
One week of 13, 1 week of 15.
Yeah.
Hey,
We just finished coaching the U13.
you're muted, Wally.
I talked to U15.
I talked to Jim yesterday. I'm good with the classroom, but I would really like to do stuff. If you do stations, do stuff with in the neutral zone that I would like to video that I feel needs to be done because it's not taught. And you're pretty familiar with everything that I would do, but that's something I'd like to get video of it for Girls Hockey Calgary. Sam and I talked about it this morning. The fundamentals that need to be taught at U9 and U11 have got to be taught. And it's an opportunity to capture video and edit it to use moving down the road. So that's something I'd like to be able to do moving forward. But
Well, we'll be able to do that. They get a lot of ice time.
yeah, oh yeah, sounds like it'll be doable. It might. If you need a helper, you might get Brent Dodging Horse's daughter to help you.
Yeah, I've asked one of the girls from out there that I coached for 3 years at SAIT.
Yeah,
She hasn't got to me yet.
good,
But-
good. No,
Yeah, if she doesn't want to do it, I could talk to her.
yeah. Well, did you guys talk about the Flames when I was out?
A little bit.
I think it's they got to climb Mount Everest to get in there.
Yeah, well, it's pretty tough. 3 games left, and they got to win 2 more than Winnipeg. So they blew it against Chicago, I think.
You were at the game?
Yeah, it was. They played really good, and then they just go brain dead for 5 minutes and get scored on. Like some of them were just not there. But,
You're muted. You're muted again, Wally.
How bad are they in the D zone? Like, what are their weaknesses?
Terrible against Chicago.
Yeah.
Chicago, they're walking down the middle with nobody on them with the puck, just aiming. And then guys are blaming Markstrom.
Yeah.
NHLers shots from 20 feet out with no obstruction whatsoever. I don't know, they play, there was just some guys that weren't there.
Yeah.
Like
Hey, Rick.
Kadri had 1 goal in the last 22 games or something.
Yeah. Rick, would you like to meet for coffee at Cadence on Friday, even though it's Good Friday, or not?
I think I'll pass on Good Friday, Wally.
Okay.
Any other Friday would be okay.
We'll think about it for next week, and I'll get a hold of a bunch of people to do it. So, now I'm wondering about just talking about for next week. I haven't. Scott Rivet hasn't got back to me, so I may have to wait on till Carly gets back to talk to him to see if we can get him on. But the World's Women's are on on right now. Anybody have you watched any of it? Tim, can you see it from there or not?
Yeah, it was kind of a pleasant surprise. Like I went to a, because I haven't got a TV hooked up yet. It's on my list for this week, but I went to a sports bar just 10, 15 minutes north of me and to watch the Flames game, which they happily put on. But when I walked in, they had the women's game on. It had just started. Yep. So I could watch both of them kind of side by side.
Wow.
So it was good. We talked a little bit early on, like they've got lots of movement in the offensive zone now. I like the way they're playing offensively, generally speaking. It's obviously it was hard to watch the 2 games at once and really follow exactly what was going on, but it looked like they played pretty well. Yeah. It was a respectable score for Switzerland, but
I watched U.S. and Japan.
Japan, yeah.
And my my young nephew and son of my nephew, he's a Canadian hockey fan. He phoned me during the game wearing the Canadian jersey I gave him, and he said the Americans look robotic, and he was impressed with the Japanese. After the first, the score was only 2-1, and and I only watched maybe a third of the game. I was really impressed with Japan. I think Japan's going to give Carla a heck of a match, and I don't know how the Czechs are going to be this year, but of course I'm cheering for her to do well. But I think it'll still be the U.S.-Canada show in the end. But the other team, Japan, looked really competitive. I was quite impressed.
They have been for the last couple of years. They've been pretty solid. They got some really good young players.
Yeah.
They're really small, but they play a really good structured game. And if they get good goaltending, they're a pretty capable team. But it ended up 7-1, I guess. So I only saw a few of the highlights, but.
Yeah. Well, I think the other countries, Switzerland looked like in the past when we played Switzerland, it looked like no contest, but they were competitive, and I discovered that there were a number of players in Switzerland and different teams playing in the pro league in Canada now. So that's going to help the long-term development of the female program, making them more competitive. Whether it'll get them over the hump, but it makes those games enjoyable to watch, not a pain to watch. So I like however much I viewed of Japan and however much I got to see of Canada and Switzerland. It was pretty good hockey. But Rick, do you follow the NHL playoffs?
More so than the regular season.
Yeah. Like I just don't watch it. I watched the Flames game, just the third period last night, and but for some reason I just can't get into watching it anymore. So
I haven't been able to watch a full game for a long time. Just doesn't hold my interest. I can watch kids all day, but
yeah, same here, and I don't know why that is. And it's really interesting. Have you watched the Female Worlds at all, Tim or Rick?
no, I have not.
Well, just I'm going to ask you to try to watch Canada play a game and see what you think. But I can watch that more than I can watch the pros because I know the players. That's probably the big reason is, being a female hockey nerd. So
Yeah, no, makes sense.
Yeah. It's playoff time out here, and Jordan has gotten off, and I was hoping he would be on, but I just wanted to mention Jordan was selected Coach of the Year in the Midget AA Female League this year, and he wasn't able to get to the provincials, so him winning the award was sort of an unusual thing, but well deserving of it. And Jordan has a book. Every girl has written a letter about what they enjoyed about the season, and he read me their pages. It was just incredible how the year they appreciated and what they got out of it that he shared. And Jordan, after winning the award, had to drive up to Leduc for the banquet to get the award. And one of his players was MVP, and the other one was a runner-up in another award category. And so he got to thinking the runner-up should get some recognition, at least in their home associations. So what happened, he's actually going to contact Sam Holmes and Paulette, who are on the executive, about giving the same type of trophy to the runner-ups, because he says if you're number 2 out of 72 defensemen, or number 2 out of close to 300 forwards, you're pretty darn good, and it's good for recognition. So I kudos to him for doing that. He's makes a good point to give him more recognition. So now, Tom, this is hypothetical, but if you were to say who was your MVP player, who would you name?
Wally,
Just tell me your number.
number 12.
Okay. I don't know why I don't remember names, but I associate numbers, but that's good. Sounds like no.
Yeah, like, I mean, yeah. Kyle was amazed at how many goals she scored. I guess she played defense last year.
Yeah.
And it was incredible how many goals she scored. She scored like almost twice as many as the next player.
Yeah. So
She's a good player.
pretty determined player, boy. Very, very determined. So,
Yeah.
Tim, how's the weather in Arizona?
Really good, really good. Supposed to get really toasty this week. The next, like on the weekend, I think supposed to get into, I guess for us Canadians into the mid 30s or higher. It's like,
Or so.
27 today, 25 today or something like that.
Yeah.
So you'll be breaking out the clubs, I'm sure.
Yeah, I might go over today. I actually I had my club stolen, Rick, about a year or more ago out of my garage. We left our garage, not the big door, but the little door open, and so I'm actually going tomorrow to do a club fitting thing so I can get some new clubs. So.
Oh. I was gonna say we should make a point of getting together over the summer, but you might be too good to play with a guy like me.
No, no, I'm all over the map. I always like to describe myself as the Jim Rice of the golf world. Power to all fields.
Well, they wouldn't make it so big if they didn't want you to investigate it all. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
So maybe we could make a point of getting a bunch together and
Yeah.
do a round or two.
Yeah. I'm gonna try to get to the Dino golf tournament this year. I played a couple of years now. I was gonna play it last year, but then Barb's brother and sister-in-law came into town, and I had to beg off. But it's I think it's June 22nd, so I'll probably try to get out to that with Terry Johnson and try to drag Kabelka out there with me. Do you play at all, Tom?
Hmm?
Do you play golf at all?
I play a little bit.
Yeah.
I go with TJ. We played 9. We did a lot of 9s last year because last year he had that heart thing going on.
Yeah.
So he had to have a cart. And so we played about, geez, I bet you 9-10 times is most I've ever played, I think.
Oh, really?
It was a pretty good deal at Elbow Springs. You pay $2 extra and you get a full breakfast after.
Oh, really? That's a
Yeah.
nice little course too.
Yeah. So that's generally where we go. We live in this side of town, so it doesn't take very long to get there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tim, have you looked at any of Craig Revak's stuff that I've shared?
No, some of the stuff. I have to admit, I still have a coach's site membership, but I haven't looked at the site much in the last 6 or 8 months, but I've sent some of your stuff out.
Like I find this last posting, and all of his postings are on the offensive side of things. And when you talk about the Flames and analyze their defensive liabilities, it's just that nobody coaches that anymore. Nobody teaches that. And I don't know if it's all teams or not, but what's your opinion? Is it neglected in the NHL, or is it the whole game just turned to offense?
Well, yeah, I think it's hard to know. I would imagine there's still a lot of focus on it at all levels everywhere. But I also think it's a good thing that there's a lot more focus on the offensive side of things because it was so lacking for so long. But I would guess that there's still some real focus on it at most levels, and there should be, of course. But you know, I just see the Flames. You know, I've watched quite a bit this year, and they just a lot of just really poor positioning decisions. They seem to play a real scattered. They seem to just a real scattered bunch defensively. I don't know whether really it has to do with structure. I mean, they're playing a pretty hard and fast man on man defensively, which I never have really liked, but it's almost essential now in the way the game is played offensively. It's hard to play a more conservative defensive style, but
is everybody playing man on man now?
I don't know if everybody is, but I mean the Flames pretty obvious, really focused man on man coverage. Like I say, it's hard not to with the D scissoring so much now and the D involved in the offensive zone. It's you know, it's the easy solution to that in lots of ways. You still got to be prepared to help out, I guess, of course, to keep people out of the middle. But
well, the Flames on the PK yesterday were getting in trouble. 2 guys were going to 1 guy a couple of times, and that one cross-ice pass to Connor, 2 guys went to 1 guy, and earlier in that they did too. So
yeah, those are fundamental things to me. It's, you know, I can understand mix-ups and switching possession when they cross so much, and I think offensively on crossing, there's got to be picking to create space. Sometimes you're crossing to pick, taking advantage of the pick, and those things are becoming sort of a tactical thing in the offensive zone. And what Craig produced in the video last week below the net, just the positioning of the forwards, subtle little changes in their awareness of how to position their body to protect and create more time and space. It was quite amazing for me anyway. I don't know, but it certainly got away from the north-south linear game and direct attacks and crossing attacks, and the low zone offense space is it's so valuable, but the good players are able to still create stress there. Anybody betting on anybody as the best team right now? Is Boston that good?
I still, I know I think I've said this before to you guys, but I still get a little ticked off with all the media hype about them chasing Montreal Canadiens wins record and points record when, you know, the Habs, if they'd have had overtime and shootouts back in the day in 77 when they set the record, Montreal probably would have had 6 or 8 more points. And I get a little annoyed when everybody gets excited about them breaking that record with nobody mentioning that, it's like they moved the goalpost. It's, but it'll be interesting to see if Ullmark can, their goalie can hold up to the playoff pressure. Like he has really zero playoff pedigree, their goalie, and he's been a big part of their success this year. So that'll be the interesting thing for me, whether, his numbers in the playoffs match his numbers in the regular season. And Colorado are coming on like gangbusters, so hard not to see them as the favorite in the West, even as well as Edmonton and LA are playing. But
Who's the new coach at Boston?
Jim Montgomery.
Montgomery.
Did he coach Dallas?
Yeah, he was the guy that had difficulties. He had a drinking issue, admittedly, and he coached at University of Denver a couple of years, won a national championship or maybe two.
Yeah.
And he's a good, useful player for St. Louis. I think New Jersey, a couple of teams.
And he won a Hobie Baker too, I think, didn't he? I think he did.
I don't think so. Maybe.
Like, the thing that perplexed me is how many coaches have long extended careers. Of course, if you keep winning, you're going to extend your career. So Scotty Bowman lasted a long time back in that era. But right now, the most intriguing thing is, for me, is why coaches can't establish a longer career with one team rather than flipping teams. And why is that they have to change so much? Is it totally the wins and losses, or their communication with players, or internal organization problems? Because boy, it sure makes coaching a difficult thing to pursue as a career down the road. So like I can't believe Sutter, to me, on paper is pretty damn good and demanding if the players play the right way, and they're not consistent in that. But I'm just curious about the coaching temperament and that kind of thing. And in Colorado, and I met Bedard's dad at a reunion at home. He's married to a local girl. We had some good talks about his son and the things he was dealing with. And he has on his staff Ray Bennett working with him, who is the most low-key guy and one of the best people person you could ever want to meet. And I think your career is going to depend on your staff to be different amongst each other and make each other better. And I think that, just because I know Ray, I might be biasing their success to his influence on the communication with the team. So it's sort of like Rob Cookson. He's a Hockey Canada guy that got a job in the NHL. I don't know if he's working with a team. I think he might be back with Chicago now, but
I think he's in Europe, Wally.
Okay.
Dean Holden's in pretty close touch with him.
Okay, well, I'll find out about that. But
I ran into him in a play game and he wasn't doing anything
Oh, really?
about 2 months ago, but maybe got picked up somewhere. I don't know.
yeah, I knew him when he was working at the Center of Excellence. And just about all those guys that were employed there like have gone on to positions with NHL organizations. And I'm just perplexed at the turnover of coaches and the business of turnover of players. But I guess that's the entertainment business. And it
Well, I'll
affects,
bet you do around next year and last year's coach of the year.
yeah.
Because
Ray
the narrative
Bennett's an
now
AC
will be
with
too
Colorado.
grumpy players.
Well, I'm going to throw a question at you guys. If you were interviewing for a coach in the NHL, what would you consider? What are the things you would be, trying to discover?
Well, the most important thing is talent. Everybody says Gretzky wasn't a good coach. Well, I don't care who that took over that San Jose team or I guess it was Phoenix. He had no talent whatsoever.
Yeah.
But it had nothing to do with Gretzky. He just didn't have very good players.
So it doesn't matter who you hire.
Well, you need comparable talent.
Yeah. Do you think the
Comparable
Flames
talent,
have comparable talent?
goaltender, we're
Yeah.
off to the races.
Yeah.
Remember when Sutter, the first time here, everybody wanted his head, and then he made the trade to get Kiprusoff.
Yeah.
And a month later, he was the smartest guy in Calgary in the NHL again.
Yeah.
Goaltenders tend to do that for you.
Do you think, the trade, like I think the Flames you couldn't have a better excuse for their result is the trade absolutely blindsided the team and the organization in trying to create a new identity with a coach like Daryl. It takes time. So the coach have to adapt to the player have to adapt to the coach. What's your thought, Tom?
He had the best line in hockey. They had the top plus minus in the league. Gaudreau was second in the league in scoring. Kachuk wasn't that far behind him.
Yeah.
They had a line to go out there and come back and play big goals. Yeah. Right now they just don't have anybody like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a kick in the teeth. And I don't think that would have happened if COVID didn't happen. Because neither one of their families could come here for like a couple of years.
Yeah.
And I think they just thought, I got to get out of here.
Yeah. What do you think? I'm thinking of Huberdeau. Is he going to get back to getting the points he's had, or is I heard
he's starting to produce now. He's starting to do some stuff now.
Yeah.
Way better than it was earlier. So
Yeah.
made a great pass last night to Zadorov.
Yeah.
Mangiapane.
Yeah. I think he made the pass to Zadorov.
Oh no, yeah, it was back.
Yeah, he did.
Mangiapane was Backlund.
Yeah, you're right.
That was great by Mangiapane. Just, the principle, one high, one low, one fast, one slow, because he was kind of parallel, and then he just pulled up a little bit, created a little separation, from that D so that he could get the shot off, and create a lane.
And create the lane, yep.
Yeah, that was a nice play. I thought he'd waited too long on that one.
Yeah, that was the game right there. They make the great save on the 2-on-1 on Dubois there, and then they go down and tie it up. Could have been down 2-0, and and the Jets had a breakaway before that too, so it could have been. They gave themselves a chance to lose last night, but Markstrom was good enough last night to get the job done.
I don't know why they're so sloppy in the red zone. Just inside the blue line there, above the top of the circles. Boy, they give lots of breakaways and 2-on-1s from there, turning the puck over there.
Yeah, that Rasmus Anderson last night, he tried to knee a puck down and it went by him and they were off to the races. So when I see those kind of 2-on-1s, I look at pinch decisions or holding your position decisions. And that seems to me as the defenseman's decision to go is wrong. And I think that Tom, you're a 2-on-1 continuous where the D play at the ringette line. They can be much more effective than standing on the blue line and deciding whether they're going to pinch or not. So,
Yeah.
but I
Well,
don't know.
Calgary consistently the guy, and that was Anderson passing to the other D. And he
Yeah.
put it up in the air, but you don't skate at the D with your guy on you and then pass to the D who's already got a guy on him. And
Yeah.
Calgary does it every game and they get in trouble.
Yeah.
And that's what happened on that one.
Yeah. Well, look, guys, I'm gonna check to see how the housework's going with my worker, and I'm gonna edit what I can out of this. I can see Mike Bonellli's busier than heck in the background. But next week, we'll do coffee for sure, Rick. Tom, next Friday. Keep that in mind in Calgary. Tim, I don't know if you're going to want to fly up from Arizona for that, but you're welcome.
I'll be at the bottom of the Grand Canyon next Thursday, Friday.
Hey, send me pictures.
Yeah, be right on the river.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
You enjoy that, Tim.
Yeah, it'll be fun. We haven't been since for a while now. We haven't been down the river for a long time because of COVID. But we got a little backpack in September when Barb was down. But it'll be fun, and hopefully it won't be 35 plus. I think we're just going to miss the really hot weather, so that'll be a good thing. Anyway, we'll see you probably in a couple of weeks, guys.
All righty. Look forward to it.
Take care.
Alrighty.
See you, Tom.
See you guys. See you, Tim.
All right, Tom. Wally, Mike.
Hey, Rick. So, Mike, what are you working at now? Oops. Mike, his chair's empty. That's interesting, the difference between American organization here. It's like summer hockey in the States. Because there's no rules. You recruit other people's players. I remember helping a guy down in Los Angeles pick a AAA team.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're from Chicago trying out. It was amazing. It's just wide open.
Well, they're dealing with the same problems we deal with. And it's more the prep schools staying in.
No, it's every organization, Wally. It's everything. Like one organization steals players from another organization.
Yeah.
Rinks run their own hockey program, so they need to sell ice. So they're it's a totally different organization than we have.
Okay.
And then the club system in Europe is totally different than both.
Yeah. Well, I had a long talk with Sam early in the call, and she said that she's got the skills at the U9 and U11 level down. And I said, well, you don't have the fundamental skills down, because I went to the coaches clinic where that was covered and it wasn't covered. And I said, that's what I want to do, is just capture that on footage so it could be used. But I don't think coaches will ever be educated enough to teach deliberately teach, those things. So, but she wants to make sure of the hockey sense. And I said, well, you've done this. You know what you're doing. And I said, I feel they're missing out on the absolute fundamentals. They may be better at skating and passing and awareness, but you're already doing things they need to do. And she said she wants, but she's too busy. She's worried about the Bantam AAA, the two coaches that you'll be coaching against they just don't know how to manage a bench. They both shorten their benches and create internal competition that doesn't develop. So next year's experiment, Tom, with all three teams is the coaches doing the exercise, the U13, and she wants to do it with the U15 because she's worried about the two other coaches that you'll be coaching against.
Yeah, I guess it's an open draft, so all the players, so you can't protect players.
Yeah,
So
but
it's a
whenever,
totally open draft. You're gonna have Kyle helping because he knows all these kids.
yeah,
It's hard. I hate drafting against people that know the kids, and some guys are girls are tryout players, and then they're terrible players, really.
yeah.
But
Well,
they look good
you should
tryout things.
be pretty familiar with U13s moving up.
Well, I know them, but I don't know the players that are, you know what I mean, the returning players.
Yeah.
But
Well,
they're going to camp in June or something like this, and then they go through a tryout and all this stuff.
yeah.
That
No, those tryouts they have a fire starter where they compete and you have to make your choices. And Jordan did his draft and he was there at every session. And
yeah,
it's quite a big job. And I just want coaches to be able to pick players who are going to develop because they're coachable and they're going to work hard. You just don't want players and parents to ruin the team or coaches to ruin the team. So
well, parents have nothing to do with the draft thing. So
no, but once the season starts, they can sure turn your team upside down in a hurry.
yeah, I've experienced it.
Yeah.
If
So
they think they're, I can't believe, I remember the one last year I did the AAA Flyers, and this one mother she was my manager, and then she just she didn't book me in the same hotel as the team for a tournament in Banff. She was so mad at me. Her daughter wasn't on our main power play. I
yeah,
coached her 2 years. She scored 1 goal.
yeah.
It's not kind of someone that goes on the power, but that's how parents think sometimes.
Now was that the AA Flyers?
No, that was AAA. I did 3 years of AAA right after I coached the Rockies.
Okay.
They had Flyers, Chaos, and Bruins.
Yeah.
Then they dropped the Chaos, and they had 2 teams. And I packed it in after that. I would have been the head coach of the Fire when they started the Japan team.
Yeah.
But I'm so frustrated with this team, I just didn't want to do it. And yeah, because